Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Rick and I will be the instructor for this course. I hope you're excited, or I hope you're excited as me, because I can't wait to start this course. Now, this is introduction lecture, and in this lecture we will learn how you can navigate this course, because this is very important. Without this, you will not be able to navigate correctly. Now, this course will be consisted of 8 different parts with 93 individual lectures, and you will have 8 hours and 30 minutes of content. Okay, now this is part 1, and these are the individual lectures that we will go through. This part 1 lasts 49 minutes, and each part will last a different. Okay, so this one 59, 58, and these are the lectures we're gonna cover. Part 3, 4, 5, 6, and we're gonna end at part 8. Actually, after the part 8, you will need to do a quiz, or actually 2 quizzes that are 110 questions, and you need to attempt all of them. What I want to say here, that when you start, just always start from part 1, go through the lectures, and don't skip, because each and every part, they're connected. And yeah, if you skip part, for example, 6, you will not be able to do good job in a part 7. So therefore, just stick to the plan, and you will be in very good hands, because this course is structured like that. So everything is connected, and you will learn from the basic syntax of Python until the intermediate and some of the advanced syntax, like in the part 8 and 7, where we're going to learn about object-oriented programming, classes, objects, and methods. Cool. Now, all of the code that you will need for this entire course is located at github.com, my official page. So if you open this one, you will have something like this. So if you click on part 1, you will have the lectures. You can go there. But if you don't want to do it from here, you can just go back and just download them as a zip file. Now, you need to unzip them on your desktop or wherever you want, but make sure that you unzip them. Now, all of the links and installation tools, everything that I mentioned, or for example, something that we're going to download or install from Python official documentation, it will be in this file here, resources links. So all of the resources will be there. Now, there you go. This is the introduction lecture, and I hope that you will enjoy this course. So let's start with a little bit of theory in the next lecture. Lecture number 1. This will be a theory lecture, and the next lecture will be also theory, but they will be super short. So I'm gonna fly over the content of this PowerPoint presentation, and let's learn a little bit about Python. So who's this course for? And this course is for anyone, actually. Even beginner, I will teach you from the very beginnings, and you will understand, because Python is easy to learn language. This course is even for teachers and educators that they want to follow my structure and examples and everything, so they can pass to the students. And even for developers and programmers, because a lot of the developers and programmers, they forget things, and they can refresh their memory. And plus, we're gonna cover and even some intermediate or advanced things here. Okay, so how to get the most out of this course? I will say that you will need a 99% internet connection and browser. Why? Because even this video, you're gonna watch it on YouTube, and you need internet connection. And we can also write and execute Python code on internet without even installing anything. But we will learn how to install IDEs, or code editors. So these are tools that professional developers, programmers, use, and we will learn how to do it. But most important, internet. And from the browser, I prefer Google. If you can, that will be great. So what is Python? According to the official documentation, Python is an interpret object-oriented high-level programming language with dynamic semantics. Python is a general computer programming language, meaning it can be used to create applications that will solve different problems. We will see what it can be used for. So, is Python easy to learn? Yes, the answer is yes, because it uses very simple syntax and anyone can learn it, okay? So why Python is so popular? Well, Python is emphasizes code readability, and this can be achieved because Python supports different modules and packages. So we don't need to write the entire code in one single file. Imagine one single file have thousands of lines of code, and we can use modules. We can split that code in different modules, connect those modules, and use the different packages from different programmers. When I say developers, I mean programmers. So these packages are being developed by someone that faced a problem before, and they create a solution and they put it there for us so we can use it. And that's why Python can do so many things. Okay, so who created Python? I'm sorry if I don't pronounce the name. So I think it's Guido van Rossum. So he created Python in 1991 February. And what is Python used for? Well, it's used for game development, web development, e-commerce, artificial intelligence, AI, data science, data analysis, machine learning, image processing, and graphic design. This is very good. Python is very good in this, and scientific computing. We will learn in the advanced course that I'm going to create. We will learn how to scrape web pages and how to use that data for data science and data analysis, and also machine learning. Okay, so that's pretty much it for this presentation. I will also have the same PowerPoint for you ready, so you can use it from the downloaded files. So that is pretty much it, and I will see you in the next lecture. Lecture number 2 will be again theory, and it will be super short. So what is Python interpreter? Okay, I just skipped one page. So Python interpreter. Python is an interpret high-level language. This means it uses an interpreter to read the code from a Python file or a script. So on the other hand, there's a different programming languages like C++ or C# or Java. For example, the C++ is again, high-level language, same as Python, but it compiles the code. It's not interpret high-level language. This means that the C++ will turn the human understandable code into machine code, okay? And that's the difference between Python and other high-level language. So Python will translate the code into a bytecode. This is a file that is called bytecode, and this file have extension .pyc. Python interpreter comes with the installation of Python, so we don't have to worry about installing this, okay? So when we install Python on our machine, it will come with different things, and Python interpreter is one of these. So the difference between the C++ compilation file and bytecode file created by Python interpreter is that the compilation file will be executed on the CPU, on the computer CPU, and Python interpreter, on the other hand, uses a virtual machine known as CPython virtual machine, VM. And this gives us power to execute this file, Python file, on any operating system that we want. So we are not tied to one operating system. This virtual machine gives us power to execute the file wherever we want, okay? And here's the entire process. Now, on the bottom left here, we have the PC, means PyCharm, and that's a tool that we're going to use. It's actually an IDE, so we can write and execute Python files. On the other side, we have another tool that we can use to execute and write Python code, and this is VS Code, right? It's called VS Code. We can use any code editors that we want, but in this course, I will stick to using this two, okay? But they will do the same job. So the code that we are going to write, it's going to be saved and stored in a source code or file, right? And this file is used by the Python interpreter because the Python interpreter inside have a compiler that will get this file and it will compile it to bytecode. And then this bytecode file is grabbed by the virtual machine and it's being executed, right? And that's the entire process. So we write code, we gave it to the interpreter, the interpreter will use its compiler and it will create a bytecode file, and this file will be executed by a virtual machine, right? And that's pretty much it. So that is about the theory. Next lecture will be more interesting, I promise. So take care. In this third lecture, we will learn how we can write, run, and execute Python. So there are different ways and different tools that we can use for creating Python, writing Python code, and executing. So I'm gonna show you 3 different tools. The first tool that you're usually gonna use is the code or text editor. So there are different code and text editor, but we're gonna use the VS Code or Visual Studio Code editor. And this is great because you can write different languages here. You can install different extensions and whatever you want. So this is a very good, but in order to write Python, we need to install a couple of extensions, okay? So it's not straightforward, but they're lightweight and you can install them right away. Another similar editor is this one, Atom. And you can also check this one out. Sublime is a very good text editor. And another one that I've never tried is Vim. And there are other editors that I have never tried. But in this course, we are going to use this one. And the next tool, so these are code editors. All of these 4 are code editors. There are more. So next tool that you can use to write and execute Python is called IDEs. So Spider and PyCharms, they're both IDEs. So they're usually, look, it's saying the Python IDE. So this is primarily developed for Python. You can use it, you can install it and run, write and execute Python straight away. So this is very good. You don't need to tweak anything. It's gonna work. But the difference is that these are more robust, more complete than the code editors, okay? That comes with a lot of things there. Sometimes you don't need them, but sometimes you need them, okay? And the next tool that you can use, so these were the IDEs, is something like notebooks like Jupyter. And Jupyter is a very popular notebook for artificial intelligence and data science, okay? So we're gonna use this in the advanced course, and it's not in this one, okay? But for the very good part of this course, we will stick to something called replit.com. So if you type it on Google, replit.com, this is the website. You need to sign up. And after you log in, this is something you can get, right? So first things first here is you need to create a Python file. And here on this side, you have the templates, my repls, and everything. You can read about documentation and learn about it. I'm not gonna bother you. So you can create here if you click on the plus sign, right? Or you can even do it here. And first things first, you need to search for what you're trying to write. And you want to use it for Python. And then here you name, you can put it whatever name you want to your, so let's say first Python project. You can create whatever name you want. And next one is to create the REPL. And this is it. We need to wait for the files here. There should be main file and a couple of other files here popping up. See, putting the REPL, okay? And there you go. There's a main file is where you type here the Python code. For example, let's say print hi. And this is where you write the Python code. And if you click run, the console is the output will go, okay? So, but how this website knows about Python? Well, in the background, they do have Python, right? They do have Python installed somewhere. So this is same if you go to the Python official website, python.org/downloads. And if you go here and download, well, if you see this in future, you will have different version. So when you download this Python on your machine, you can use it, right? But we're not gonna do it right now because we're gonna use REPL for a good part of the course. It's gonna be very simple. So the version at the moment is this, but yours will be different, definitely. And we can check what version this website uses. So if you go to the shell and you write Python -v and hit enter or return, you will see that it's Python 3.8.12. But that's good enough. At least it's 3 at the front, and that's very good, okay? So if this Python -v doesn't work, you can try Python 3-v and hit, and I will have the same result, but if for some reason yours is not working, you can use that one. So this is the shell that you can use it to type commands. Okay, so this is how you can use REPL, and we will use it to write our code here and check the output here. Okay, so in the next lecture, we will see how we can write a Python code. Lecture 4. In this lecture, we will learn a little bit more of the basic Python syntax. So this here is the main.py file, and I need to tell you that all of the Python files, they end up with this extension .py, so .py. So all of the Python files, right? The index or HTML files, they end up with .html extension. The Python files, they always have this extension. And in this file, we have only one line of code, but we can have more. So for example, if I copy this one here and print hi there, so I have 2 lines of code. These are called instructions. And in the first 2 lectures, we learned that the Python use Python interpreter to read the code here and create that bytecode file. So that bytecode file, we're never gonna create it. So that is something that is gonna be created in the background. Okay, so after that, that bytecode file is used by CPython virtual machine. So the virtual machine can produce this output. So if we run it again, we will have 2 outputs now. Hi there, hi, and hi there. The print is built-in function. You don't need to know about functions at this stage, but we will learn how they're defined, how they're created. So when you see these brackets here, small brackets, that indicate that it's a function. Okay, so now we need to talk about variables. In Python, we have variables. Variables are used to store some data. For example, my name is a variable name that will store my name there, right? So this is a value, and my name is the variable, and this is the value. And we use this operator, it's called assignment operator. So we assign this string to the my name. So my name is a container, and this process is called process of binding. We're binding the value of Rick to my name variable, and we can create there are different ways, naming conventions. Okay, we will learn about those, how we can create, but you can name this variable whatever you want. Okay, so it can be my first name, my last name. Now, how we can access the value? So we can simply do print my name. Oops, sorry. And if we run it, we will see that it will be Rick, right? So I can access the value by printing it. Okay, now that's about variables in Python. They're containers that store some data, but it can be any different type of data. For example, this is so far a string, but we can add a number here. And if I print, let's say my age here instead of my data, and we can print my age. Good. Now I will have a 10. Great. Another basic function is the input function. And the input function accepts a string here. For example, what is your last name? Question mark. And now what is interesting about the input, when we run it, it will be processed, everything, instructions will be processed until here, and the input awaits us users to provide a value or input, right? So it allows us to input something. And here I will just say, I will just type whatever. And what is more interesting, the function is in this process, in this stage, it's stopped. It's not like, it's not the green button we had before. So it means waits us whatever to input a value, and when we hit enter or return here, it will finish. Okay. Now the good thing about the inputs is that we can store the value the user provides into a variable. So we can say my input. And after that, we can print my input. Okay. So now if I go run again, I will say my last name and hit return. And I have a name error because I misspelled the print. Okay, I need to run it again. We will learn about errors as well. And you need to select the console. Hit return. There you go. Now that's it. So we learned two built-in functions, the input and print, and we learned about the variables that can store data. They're containers, so we can access the data later on we want. And we can even do this. First, comma, second equals 1 and 2. And we can do, this is basically same as we say first equals 1 and second equals 2, right? So if we want to create multiple variable names and assign them a data respectively, then we need to separate them with comma, right? And I'm just going to return, just going to print first and print second. So you can see that they're working. So it will wait for us. Everything here, it's not going to be executed because the inputs wait for us to get some data. Okay, that's it. Now you know about variables and basic functions in Python. Okay, now let's continue with lecture 5 and we will look into comments and data types. So in Python, we can write comments if we write this symbol, hash symbol in front. And the text that goes here, single line comment, will be considered as a comment. Look, even it has a different color. So the comments are not going to be included in the final output here, right? Because the Python interpreter will ignore them. And the comments are very useful because they will make our code more readable, not just for us, but for any developer that might want to read what we're trying to achieve with our code. So this is a single line comment, and this is a multi-line comment. The multi-line comments are 3 single or double quotes, and inside we can write in multi-lines, right? Multi-line comment. And here, if we don't do that, this will be considered as a code, right? And I will have an error. So this is a single line comment with this, and these are multi-line comments with single or double quotes. We can use double quotes if we want, but that looks not natural to me. So use single quotes. Okay, be careful when you're using comments. Comments should be short and concise, and they should help us understand what we're trying to achieve. So don't write comments for everything. This is a variable, this is this. When you write comments when something is more complex. Okay, now let's move on. We have different data types in Python. So data types are nothing but values. So each value has its own data type, and there are various data types. And we're gonna go through all of them and do examples. So I'm just gonna name them here. So the most basic core ones are integer, or like this, int. The second one is float. And I get auto. Okay. Give me suggestions. I will accept. So they're complex that are used beside the integer and float. Okay. And then we have Boolean. These are accepting true or false values. Then we have string. str stands for string. Okay. And that's it. So we have, these are these are 5 basic data types. The complex should not be here, but I included in they're used beside the integer and float. These are the numbers, okay? They're more advanced, called list, tuples, sets, and dictionary. We will go through them as well. And Python allows us to create our own data types. They're called classes. In Python, we have also something that is called specialized data types, and these data types are not built in Python. They include packages and modules. Okay, we will go through packages and modules, and we will learn what's there, how we can use them, how we can import them, and how we can install it. Okay, now I'm just gonna show you here from my, here it is. This is a chart for Python data types. So they can be numeric, integer, float, and complex, dictionary, Boolean, set, sequence, strings, tuples, and list. Now in the next lecture, we'll go one by one and we will do examples. Okay, that's pretty much it. Okay, let's explain about the integer data type. So I create a new REPL here, as you can see. So I name it integer data type because here I will include everything about integer. And I just type some comments. So integer is a data type, and Python includes 3 numeric data types. So they're integer, floats, and complex, because we want to represent somehow the numbers. Okay, the integer can be a whole number. It can be 0, positive, or negative, but whole number. So why we need them? Well, we need them to do some mathematical calculation operations on them, right? So I'm just gonna be very quick here. And this is lecture 6. Now I'm just going to create a variable a with a value of 6, and I will create another variable b with value of 3. And we can do print a plus b, and I can copy this one a couple of times so I can use all of the mathematical operators here. So then will be a times b, then will be a divided by b, or a minus b. Now, print is a function, and that's why these parentheses are important, okay? If you don't write it, you will have a problem. We can run this, and let's see the output. It will be 9, 18, 2.0, and 3, okay? So we can run, we can use mathematical operators with integers, right? So another important thing that I want to mention here is that we can check what is the type. So in Python, we can use the type function to check what this variable holds, what kind of data type it holds. So the function is called type, and we can do this print type, and inside we pass in the a. We can do the same here. We can pass one parameter called b. So type again is a function because of these parentheses. So if you run it, we will have class of integer and class of integer. You don't need to worry about the class, what the class keyword means at this stage, right? But both of these variables are from type integer. And yeah, so to summarize, integers are whole numbers without any decimal parts, okay? So these whole numbers. And we will go to next section and we will explain about floats. Okay, let's move on to another data type, and this is about float or floating point number. So floats are just like the integer, but they contain a decimal part. For example, 3.5 or minus 6.3. So the floating numbers are the numbers that have decimal parts. And let's create one simple example, and I will say m equal 3.2 and n will be 1.7. So if we multiply these two, we will have m times n. Let's run this. So we have a decimal number again, okay? And we can also check the type using the type function, print type of, well, doesn't matter which one we're going to use, n or m, right? It should give us type class float, okay? Now, how integer and floats are stored in a memory. So they are very similar, but the way that are stored in a memory is completely different. So the difference is that the floats numbers are stored in memory in different locations. so they could take up more space. For example, this 3.5 will be stored 3 in one memory location and this in another memory location. That's why they take more space than the integer numbers, that the whole numbers. And that's the only difference between them. And in the next section, we are going to cover the Python operators. Okay, now it's time to learn some of the mostly used operators in Python. They are power operator, using this syntax, double / operator for floor division, modulo operator. And after that, we're going to learn about operator precedence. So the power operator, it requires to have two values to perform a calculation. Same as the other programming languages. If you have done it, it's very similar, right? So let's write this expression. Let's print 2. And what this means, 2 is raised to the power of 3. So if we run it, should be 8, okay? Nice, very simple. So if you do another here, 3 raised to the power of 3 should be 27. Good. Now that's the power operator. The modulo operator, the double / operator is known as floor division, and this operator is known as integer division, and we'll divide the first argument from the second argument, and it will round the result to the nearest whole number. Let's see what this means. So if we do print 5, we need to use the double / here, and the result should be 8 because it will always round the result to the nearest whole number. Okay, so that is the double / operator. But we do have another one known as modulo, and if you have done JavaScript, it's going to be same there. So this operator is used to return the reminder when we are dividing the left operand from the right. So we can use the same one, but we need to use this operator, this sign, %sign. So it should return us 1 again. Here it is. And there you go. Now you know the basic and mostly used operators in Python. There are more, don't worry. Now, so far we have doing a calculation based on one operator, but it can be like more complex calculations, requires multiple operators, right? So 5 plus 4 minus 55 plus 10 times, and yeah, it can be more complex than this one. We are doing a very simple. And because of that, we have the order of precedence. So let me show you one example. And this, you should know it from your math class. And because the order of precedence is very important. And Python interpreter knows the rules, okay? So let's do this basic one. 7 minus 3 and multiplied by 2. Okay, if you look at this table here, you can see the brackets have the highest precedence. Don't count these brackets. These are from the print function, okay? If that confuses you, let's do a equal, okay, cut this one here, and then print the value. So we don't have brackets, right? So we can see that number 1, the highest order of precedence have the brackets. Then the second one is the power of operator. Then we have multiplication and division. And the number 4, which I missed, is minus and plus, okay? So subtraction and addition. So these have the same power. Now, here what will happen, because of this table, and Python interpreter also knows about this, it will perform 3 times 2, which will be 6, and then 7 minus 6 will be 1, okay? So those are the steps. So the first step will be, let's do the first step will be 3 times 2, which will give us 6. Then the second step will be 7 minus the result we got from the first one, minus 6, which will be 1. Now, if we run this, we should get 1 again. I have a lot of 1s here. Sorry about this. That's very cool. Now, pause the video and do this and check the output. I'm just gonna run it here. So you can pause it and do it on your own. Now, let's run it. Good, 12. So first, this will be performed, what's in the brackets. Then this will be performed. Then, yeah, everything else will comes according to this table, okay? So that's pretty much it about the power operator, or the mostly used operators, / modulo, operator precedence. And I hope this is not too hard, because this is simple math, but we need to cover it. Let's talk about some math functions that we can use on integer and float data types. So these math functions that we are going to cover are round and ABS, and these we don't need to install anything. We just can use it because they're built-in Python functions. Okay, the round function will round a float number to the nearest integer number. And for example, let's do this. Print round, let's say 4.3, and this should round to 4. Okay, nice, here it is. So this is the round function. And yeah, if we do print 4.6, let's see what will happen. Will it go to the 4 or 5? Let's see. Here it is. It's 5. So it's rounding the float number to the nearest integer number, because we crossed over 4.5, 4.6, 4.7, 4.8, and 9. They will be all rounded to 5. And below 4.9, they will be all rounded to integer 4. Good. Now, these are built-in functions. The next function is the ABS, or absolute function. This absolute function will return the absolute value of the argument. Okay, what does that mean? So let's give a breathing space here a little bit so you can understand. So print ABS of -11, and let's run it. Here it is. It will be positive 11. So absolute value of a negative number, it will be always positive. And the same goes for floats. So if we do floating point here, like 55, it should be 11.55. Good. There you go. So that is the absolute value function. There are more functions that you can learn on, but we need to use a module. This is the math module, and we don't know how to use modules, so that's why I'm not going to be worried about knowing this functions. They're coming from the module. Look, we're calling the module before we want to use the function. But this is not math class, and yeah, you can learn this on your own. It's not a problem. This is the link from the official Python documentation, and I will leave the links, in one entire document. And this is from another website called programis.com. So they have all of this nicely done, right? And they say they need to use the math module, which is a standard module in Python for importing some mathematical functions. And these are the list of the mathematical functions. The same one, you can find it here, but this is more readable, okay? So that's it. Okay, let's talk about some rules when we name a variable. Now, we know that variables are containers that are used to store data or values, but we didn't talk about how we can name this. Now, in this lecture, we can do that. So the variable name can contain letters, so small or lowercase or uppercase letter, doesn't matter, combination of those, right? Numbers and underscores, right? So let's do one example. So user email equals r@gmail.com. This is imaginary email, right? It's not valid. So this is a valid because it uses lowercase letters and underscore, but we can do this as well. This is again valid. And we can do this if we want as well. or this. We can use combination here with letters, underscore, and numbers. Okay. Now, these are all valid. Doesn't matter if they have the same value, they are different from each other. Okay. Because Python is a case-sensitive language. This one is different than this one is different than this one, and so on. Now, invalid in the past was the first character cannot be a number or underscore, but now the underscore works. Okay, so let's do it. So the first character cannot be a number. So first number equal 1, and let's do print first number. Usually I give these wiggly line here saying this is not good, but now I don't have this. Let's hope that it's going to throw a syntax error, and here it is. So we cannot start with name. The name cannot start with a number. Okay, so that's a variable. That's a rule that we need to stick. Also, Python is a case-sensitive language, as I said. So the user email is different from this one, although they have the same value, right? And also in Python, we have two naming conventions. One, it's called snake case. Let me just write this. Snake case and camel case. So what's that? The camel case naming convention is noticeable when we are using two words to create one variable name. Okay, so I would like to create a variable that includes these two words, first and name. Okay, so I want the variable to include both of these, to be compound of these two words. So we can use, for that, we can use the camel case. So how this camel case is working? So the camel case rule is that the first word always start with lowercase. So first letter is lowercase, right? But the second word, it should always start with uppercase letter. Name, first name, Rick. Okay, so this is a camel case. Now, if you want to do a snake case, we already have done it. The snake case is combining these two words with underscore. So this is the camel case. Camel case. And let's do the same one for snake case. Here it is. And instead of doing this, we can do underscore and say here JSON. And by the way, the values here, when we pass it as a string, we can use single or double quotes. Doesn't matter. Okay, as long as the first one, the first one is same. First quote is the same as the last quote. So we can't use single and double at the end. That's not good. Okay, now this is the snake case, this is the camel case notation, and that's how you can write them. But you should be careful when you start working in projects. You stick to one notation. For example, if you choose camel case, go with camel case all the way. Don't mix them both. Okay, it's not very good. So that's it. Now you know how to name variables in Python. Oh, one more thing. I forgot to mention that we need to be super careful when we pick a name for a variable. Why? The reason is that in Python we have reserved keywords, or they called predefined sets of keywords. So we cannot use them. So how we know which are these keywords? So there's a nifty little function in Python called help. So that's built-in function. And if we need to type help here, and inside keywords, plural. Now if we run it, but first make sure that you comment this one out. So what I did, I select everything, command and /, or if you're a Windows user, so control and /, and it will command everything, like here. We'll do this, select everything, command /, that's it. Control Z or command Z to go back one step. Now, if we run it, this will be the entire list. The list of keywords that we cannot use. For example, let's do this. Await equals something. Now, as you can see, or 1. So as you can see, the keyword is always going to be marked in different color. All right, from the rest of the our normal variable names. So be careful, never used here a keyword or reserved keyword for your variable names. So, and one more thing, your variable names should be very descriptive and to tell you exactly what you're doing. For example, if you're collecting emails, don't do D for emails. That's not descriptive. User, email, make sure that you stick to this, okay? Or camel notation, whichever you want. Okay, that's it. Okay, now we're gonna talk about very interesting topic, not just in Python, but in other programming languages. That is to reassign variables new values. So we can reassign the existing variables new values. How we can do this? For example, I'm gonna create a num1 that will equal to 10. And if I print this num1, oh, by the way, I just comment this one out and comment this one out. So I have clean here console, okay? So if I print out, I will have 10, right? So this was the process of declaration of variable and initialization to a value using this operator, assignment operator, right? So assign the number 10, the value number 10 to the number 1 variable. Okay, but the Python allows us to do this, to use the same variable and to give it 12.5, to even give a different data type. This was integer, now it's float. So if I do print num1, look what will happen. So first I will get the 10 from here, then I will have 12.5 from here. How cool is this? This is how we can reassign variables to a new value. Okay, reassign variables to a new values. Okay, now what we can do here is one interesting thing. For example, in Python, we can use the value of the variable like this and assign it as a value to a new variable. What I just said, maybe it's confusing. So create a num2 variable, right? And use the value of this one, num1, and assign it to num2. So if I print now num2, I will have 12.5 again. And that's pretty much it. So now in Python, we can do constants as well. So in Python, a constant is a type of variable whose value cannot be changed, right? It needs to stay constant. But this is not entirely true because, again, we can change it. But when we type constants and when other developers see it, they will know, okay, this variable is a constant and we don't need to play with the value. Okay, so when we name constants in Python, we should use some naming conventions. For example, let's do constants. Oops. In Python. And the naming convention is that we need to use all capital letters and underscores. For example, let's define pi, right? So this is a constant pi with both of them capital letter, and we know that pi is 3.14, okay? If we have a compound name like earth, gravity, we can use the snake convention, right? But don't forget all capital letters. And the earth gravity is equal to 807, something like that, okay? So this is how we can create constants. But if we print them here, let's see, print pi, oops, and print the other one, earth, gravity. Let's run it. We will have their values. So anyone that sees this, say, okay, this is a constant and they need to have their values unchanged. But again, we can change them. So if we change the pi and assign it to a new value, it will work. 3.15. And now if we print again, we will have 3.15. So again, it's possible, but that's not the point. So the rule is that when you define a constant, you want that value to remain unchanged. And you should never attempt to change their values, okay? Okay, now let's learn about expressions and statements in Python. An expression in Python is a sequence or combination of operators and operands that will produce value. So it is important to know that an expression will always produce a value. So everywhere in the internet, the expressions and statements, they are over complicated. They tend to explain this in a hard way. So yeah, I will try my best so you can understand it. Very simple. Okay, so I have coded this part here. I have the current year where the value is 2023, the year born 1990, and from current year I subtract the year born and I store that value, whatever is returned here. Okay, so if I run it, I will have a result 33 years old. Okay, nice. So from here, what is an expression? So an expression, it's always going to yield a result. And the current year minus year born, this part is an expression. Okay, it will always produce a result. So what statement then? Okay, the statements are more complicated than the expressions because they are the entire line here. Okay, so the line, this whole line is a statement because it performs some sort of action, and the action here is that it's because of this assignment operator, right? So the value of this expression is assigned to this user age variable, and this is statement. Okay, so they are both different expression and statement, and because the statements always have action, and the action here is that the assignment of a value to the user age that is produced by the expression. That's why the whole line is statement, because it's an action. Okay, there you go. So you know about statements, and you know about what else? Here, these two lines, they're also statements. Why? Because we are assigning a value to the current year, and that's the action. We are assigning a value. The entire line is also a statement, but only this part that yields a result, it's called an expression. So I hope you learn now what statements and expressions are in Python. In the past, we talked about the assignment operator, but now is a time to talk about very interesting operator called augmented assignment operator. And this is how we calculate the values so far. But as augmented assignment operator allows us to make a combination of this operator with any arithmetic or bitwise operators, like this. These are the different arithmetic and assignment operators together, and these are called augmented assignment operators. Okay, so when we use this is the old school that we were doing so far, but if we use this one here, it will produce the same result. So we can rewrite this one like this. So this is like a short syntax, okay? And I have done the same for addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. Then I have floor, power and assignment, modulo and assignment, and I also give you the output. Okay, so you can try this at home. And every time I do any of the operators, I reassign the variables to the old values, like here, like before. Okay, so if you run it, you will have all of it. Here it is, but I also put it here. That is pretty much it. Okay, so let me see what's happening here. This is giving 50 here because I need to comment this out. And if I run it here, so it will be 10 plus 30 should be 40. Good. That's it. This is augmented assignment operator. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, and this is where we end this part. So we are not done with the course. We have still a lot of things to cover. And so I'm just going to summarize what we have done so far. So you have achieved a lot, but you may not think like that, but you have done a lot, believe me. So you've learned about what Python is, how we can write Python code, how we can execute that code. We learn about few basic data types, but we still have a lot of them to cover. And we have learned about variables, that they are containers where we can store some data, how we can assign and reassign values, how we can just name them, what conventions we need to use. And we also learn about operators and basic math things. By the way, this is not a math course, but I had to include all of this. Now, just don't give up, and please go to the next part, which will be part 2, where we will learn a lot more interesting things. This was just the basic things in the part 1, and part 2 will just continue where we left here. And if you can, just please subscribe, share this video. It means a lot to me. It means a lot to my family. Yeah, I will. If I achieve something with this course, I will put a big smile on their face, because they were all of them. They believe in me, and yeah. So thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the part 2, which I promise will be much more interesting than this one. Take care.